I think people would be shocked to learn that the sort of results that I get on my Google search, if I was to do one, would be completely different to those that you'd get. That I think is a bit of a shock. But can you summarize that? How does that work?
Yes, this is called personalization. It's also called customization. Google has always taken pride in the fact that they've learned how to personalize content that they send to you. They've bragged about it over and over again for a long time, that they've become so good at this. And of course, they do this by taking all the the personal information that you keep giving them, and they build models of you. They build models, and they use those models to send you special content. Now, my wife, who unfortunately died a few years ago in a tragic and kind of suspicious car accident. But my wife, she loved that. She loved the personalized content on Google. She said Google was her personal shopper. So, some people actually really like this arrangement, but it's extremely dangerous, because the more they know about you, the easier it is for them to manipulate you. So let me tell you about some new research that we've just completed. In previous years, we've shown that in experiments, that if we present people with data that are biased, they're biased to favor one political candidate, for example. And by the way, we've mainly used Australian elections in our experiments. So because we want our participants in the experiments to be undecided. And so we're using American subjects in our experiments, but we use Australian elections, because that way, since the Americans have never heard of these candidates, that way they for sure are undecided when the experiment begins. And what we've shown is that if we present people with biased content that favors one candidate or the other, that will shift people's voting preferences toward that candidate. If we make that candidate look really good with the bias that we're showing people, it actually shifts voting preferences, and it can do so dramatically. But very recently, we got concerned about this issue that you just raised, the personalization issue. And so we asked, what happens if we send people not just biased information, but why don't we also personalize it? Let's find out what news sources people most prefer, which talk show hosts they like the best, which celebrities they like the best. And this time, some people will be randomly assigned to a group in which they get biased content that favors one candidate or another in an election. But other people will be getting biased content, the same content, exactly the same content, but it's personalized. It's now coming to them from a news source that they trust. So the results have been astonishing. If we send people biased content, we might get a shift in voting preferences of 20% or more, which is a lot, by the way. That's big. That can flip an election very easily. But the other group that's getting the same content, but it's now personalized, those people will shift by more than 60%, 3 times the shift, which tells me that all these years that we've been doing experiments with biased content, we've probably been underestimating the damage that such content can do. Because now that we've learned recently that if we personalize the content, its impact is much greater.